I'm back. It's only been like a day since we talked about patch 2 being a concept, and now it's live. So let's go jump and dip right into it. Now I will leave a link to the patch notes down below in the video description, as well as community update number 24. I did do a video on that, but I'll leave a link to that article as well. It does kind of tie into the patch 2 notes here. All right, so patch 2 is now live, bringing bug fixes, substantial performance improvements, and much more. Withers has heard tales of Tavs having requested the presence of their friends for an afternoon of adventuring, wanting to return to the lifestyle of a solo adventure without their friends in tow. Therefore, he has come up with a solution. Introducing Withers' Wardrobe of Wayward Friends. With this woodworked wonder, you can now dismiss co-op party members and bring your companions back into the fold. Withers' solution only extends to custom Tavs. However, so no throwing Gale into a cupboard, although we're sure it's comfy in there. So I talked about this in community update number 24. Basically now if a friend joins your campaign and makes a custom character, you can put them in the closet, I was gonna say. You can put them in the wardrobe and basically they're not in your party anymore. So before it was really annoying because a friend might join you and then they're like a permanent party member of yours and you can't replace them or swap them out with like Shadowheart or Gale. And if your friend never comes back to play, then you kind of have like this soulless custom character in your group and you'd rather have a companion character. But now you can use Withers' Wardrobe and you can get rid of those custom characters and you can also bring them back as well if your friend does end up coming back. Really nice feature, a needed feature if you ask me, and I'm not even playing multiplayer right now. Somebody's mowing the lawn right outside my window. Hope you guys can't. Damn it! How dare you have a job! Now the highlights of this patch are Withers' Wardrobe, which we just talked about. Also performance optimization across the board, which is really good, especially for people that were having problems in Act 3 specifically, and reduce the size of save games. So you can actually control how many saves your runs will allow. If you go into your game's settings, just scroll down a little bit in the settings and you'll see how many saves you want to allow, how many quick saves and how many manual saves, etc. So you can also reduce that if you're having memory problems, but overall the size of save games has been reduced, which is a good thing for everyone. Now there is an entire Karlach thing here. I'm going to go over this at the end of the video because this is spoiler 100%. These are different endings for Karlach and things of that nature. If you don't really care about the other little improvements, there are chapter markers in this video and you can skip all the way to the Karlach part at the end. But as you guys can see, oh, I clicked on it. I'll have to blur that out. This patch brings an additional scene to conclude the ending in which Karlach blank. If Karlach's in your party at the end of the game and blank with her, you can now decide whether to blank. Added new moments for companion and avatar Karlach to reflect on the state of her blank between acts. Added a new moment for avatar Karlach to reflect on the possibility of her blank. So Larian has done look, it seems like a lot with Karlach here. Can't wait to see how this all plays out, and I'm gonna go over these spoilers at the end of the video because I've already played the game myself. Don't really care as much about spoilers anymore. All right, let's figure out what actually is important to talk about here because there's quite a lot of crashes and fixes and balance changes. But we do have two more sections under the highlights category. So for blockers, fix potentially getting stuck in combat because a player character cannot be selected to end their turn. Fixed an issue causing you to get stuck in dialogue with Angry Marhya and Oyster Boy Dringo by the Sword Coast Couriers. So that's later on in the game. Not really a spoiler though. UI improvements added a delete all but latest option for each campaign so you can regain a little storage space and wiggle room. Added new icons for equipped items. It's easier to tell if they're equipped by the selected character, one of your characters or another player's character who's hoarding all the interesting equipment. So actually if I go into my game right here, if we scroll over an equipped item, I don't want to do a spoiler here, so let's just do this wizard hat right here. You can see that underneath the hat of fire acuity, it says equipped by Gale in blue writing. It's really, really easy to see. I don't remember what it looked like before, but I'm assuming that that is updated. Okay, back to the patch notes. Added item rarity filters to the inventory. I don't know if I'm stupid. I just can't figure out how to get that to work, or maybe it's just somehow a little bit buggy and it's not showing up in my game, but either way, having item rarity filters is going to be a nice addition to the game, whether we can do it at this exact moment with patch 2, or I'm stupid, or if the game didn't actually update that yet, but nice to see. Your turn notification now lists which character's turn it is. Nice. The character summary on level up will now update to reflect changes in ability scores. Love to see this because it wasn't updating changes in ability scores for my character, but I already understand this game fairly well, so it wasn't that confusing. I was like, oh, it's only showing 19, but I know I have a 20. A new player would be really confused because of that. So this is a really, really important update here to the UI. The active search list now persists after being opened and is more informative. Action Radial now creates containers for spells created by other spells, making them easier to manage. And that's, of course, a controller change. And speaking of controller, let me scroll down here. Take a look at this. This is the controller section right here, and we have radials with all of these bullet points, character sheet, world interaction, the HUD, spells, combat, tooltips, trading, character creation, level up, and miscellaneous, all for the controller. So if you're a controller player, basically, hopefully, the majority of your issues have been fixed here. I'm not going to go over all these, but Larian did a lot for the controller here, which is great to see, especially considering that the PlayStation 5 release is less than a week away. Okay, moving away from highlights and all of the controller fixes, I'm going to start down here at the bottom with combat and balance. And anything that's a spoiler, I will read off when we get to the end of the video with Karlach's part. So for combat and balance, fixed an issue with auras, causing NPCs to make inefficient choices like running towards you, shove you, then running away again to make a ranged attack. Aggressive beasts now enter combat instead of fleeing when attacked from afar. Additionally, when you attack an NPC from afar out of combat, they're now more likely to sprint up to you instead of getting stuck. Fixed your resources not getting restored on your next turn if you join a combat late. The timer in the Chamber of Courage will now reflect the correct number of turns remaining. Fixed certain spells not taking into account inherited conditions. Updated the grace period for joining a combat late to be at the end of the world item's turn in the first round. And then for flow and scripting, fixed silenced characters sometimes not being able to start story critical dialogues like with other party members or bosses at the end of combat, so that's nice. Fixed an issue causing party members to be silenced after every dialogue. If you break your oath as a paladin, the Oathbreaker Knight will now come back to your camp in later acts, despite how much you may have scandalized him. Fixed companions sometimes not saying anything during dialogues where they're supposed to make comments. Fixed an issue where only the character who accepted the quest from Lucretius to find dribbles could talk to her after doing so, and that's just content later on in the game if you're not familiar with those names. Then we have a ton of spoilers here, so let's go ahead and drop down to character creation and level up. You can skip the level up animation. Actually kind of nice for players that have been playing a lot and don't really want that animation anymore. It's kind of just a waste of time once you get sick of it. Fixed characters and character creation sometimes getting obscured by tooltips on controller. Spell tooltips in character creation will now always show up in the same horizontal alignment. Fixed the class icon overlapping the level up banner. Added a grid icon and button prompt on character creation options that open up a grid for selection, like when choosing colors on controller. On split screen, if one player is watching an origin character's introduction and another is zooming in and out and spinning their character around in character creation, that second person's button prompts will no longer affect the origin character's introduction. It's funny how some of these bugs and breaks are discovered. Fix the alignment of chevrons in the character creator. Okay, level design and map. Fix some artifacts appearing at the bottom right of the screen due to fog of war. Fixed the map shroud not working correctly in one area of the goblin camp. We're going to skip the spoiler. We have some changes and fixes for the Steam Deck. Reworked our system for default video options so that values are defined per platform. For example, the Steam Deck will now default to 16:9 aspect ratio. Settings now default to auto-rotate camera with speed set to max. This works better for a snappy handheld experience, so good to see. And for cinematics, cleaned up some of the mocap in dialogues across the game. Fixed healing numbers appearing in the cinematic dialogue when you press the button in the dank crypt. Nice. We have a spoiler. Fixed your head clipping into wills as you kiss on the ground. Nice. And fixed several test issues like typos. I actually did notice a couple typos, which is kind of funny, but there's so much dialogue in this game. There's actually only a few more categories to go over before we get into Karlach's spoilers and the other spoilers that I wasn't able to talk about. And I did make a Google Doc for this. I know it's kind of ugly right here, highlighting the points that I feel like I should mention. And anybody that wants to get really hardcore into the patch notes, you guys can go read them for yourself, because some of these are just, they're so situational or just not really that important to really talk about. Nobody will even understand what half of them are. So performance and optimization. Improved performance and made optimizations across the game. Always good to hear. Improve the CPU load. Always good to hear as well. And loading old save games are going to have speedier load screens now. I thought I would highlight that one. For the UI, made the hotbar icons for the number of unlocked and available spell slots you have more intuitive. Fixed hotbar sliders disappearing when changing the selected character while sliding them. That's nice. I remember that being a little bit annoying. Fix the portraits of summons not fitting in their frames in the party line. Now, under inventory for UI, we have improved the light source tooltip to clarify the purpose of the slot. Don't forget, you guys have a light source slot where you can put like a torch and things like that. It can be really important, especially in certain areas of the game. If you're carrying a character in your inventory and the weight of that character's inventory changes, that character's weight will now update too. Larian bringing us the ultimate immersion. Might be kind of annoying though too. For combat, fix portraits in the turn order UI sometimes disappearing under certain conditions. Good to be fixed. The combat log will now have entries for all items looted from corpses. Actually love that. I think that's a nice little addition to the game right there. Fixed attack roll bonuses sometimes being duplicated as penalties beneath the turn order UI in combat. The ask icon for reactions will now only be editable when a reaction is enabled. So reactions can be a little bit confusing for new players, and it can be even more confusing when you can enable all these little boxes, and when you enable one box, it doesn't have any effect if you don't have the other box enabled, etc. Larian basically just cleared all that up and made it a little bit easier to understand. For spells, fix the Learn More Spells button, opening the window for the currently selected character instead of the character whose character sheet you clicked on. For the journal, quest categories and entries in the journal will now remember whether you've expanded or collapsed them. Something little like that can actually be quite nice if you're referencing your journal quite a lot. It's nice to know which quests you were analyzing and reading, and being able to exit out of that, come back in, and be able to continue on just makes your journal management and also your brain a little bit easier to follow what you're doing when relating to the journal. For trading, added a mouse over label to the balance offer button in the barter UI for clarity. I know a lot of people have been confused about the balance and the bartering, etc. when you deal with traders. For saves, added the difficulty setting to the save game information. That's a nice little update right here. So now if you're kind of switching between Explorer, Balanced, and Tactician, depending on the situation, you can look back at your save points and know what difficulty you were playing at that particular time. Save games will now save under your character's name, even if you're polymorphed. No more save games called cheap, unless of course that's your character's name. I can see how that could be a little confusing. And then for character creation and level up, we already talked about this. You can skip the level up animation that was part of the highlights. Okay, we have entered spoiler territory. Everything that was blackened out here, I'm going to read. So if you don't want any spoilers, I'll catch you all in the next one. And thanks for coming to the patch 2 notes video. Okay, so for Karlach. This patch brings an additional scene to conclude the ending in which Karlach travels to Avernus. That's nice, because that's actually the ending that I got, and now there's going to be a little extra scene, so I'm going to have to reload a load point and do that again to see what that has. Adds a little bit more to that ending, which I think is probably good, especially for that character, which was a little underwhelmed when you compare her to other characters and their quests that they had. So a little extra for Karlach never hurts. If Karlach is in your party at the end of the game, and the Blade of Avernus offers to go to the Hells with her, you can now decide whether to go with them, go alone with Karlach, or let them go by themselves. Really cool option here. Even if there's not like a cutscene associated with it, just RP wise, like knowing where your character's going after, I think can add a lot. I know a lot of people are saying for the epilogues for the game and the ending, if there was just like even a slideshow of scenes just to fully give a true ending and let the players know where all the characters went, a lot of players seem like they would be happy with that. So this is at least a step in the right direction for those of you that felt like it was a little underwhelming. Added new moments for companion and avatar Karlach to reflect on the state of her engine between acts. So once again, just buffing up the entire Karlach experience, because she does have that infernal engine in her chest, and now there's going to be some more dialogue and discussion on that engine in her chest, which will add to her character. Added a new moment for Avatar Karlach to reflect on the possibility of her engine burning out after getting her second upgrade. So I'm not sure if this is going to be enough to satisfy all the Karlach fans out there, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. The big thing here is the additional scene when Karlach decides to travel to Avernus, which is probably the happiest ending that you can get out of her currently. So let's give this stuff a try. Let's see what it's all about. And of course, continue to provide feedback for Larian, because like I said, they might just keep improving anything that we don't think is good enough. Okay, now scrolling down, and I'm going to say once again, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler alert. We're talking about like the final boss of the game right now. So this might even be more spoilery than the people that are okay with spoilers. So just note, okay? All right, here we go. Fix the unbreakable will of the Netherbrain, missing its portrait and character model in its examine panel. So not a huge change, but the Netherbrain is the final boss of this game, so it is a major spoiler. And then we have a few more down here at the bottom. I know there was a ton of them. For combat and balanced, fixed Answer's Stormheart Nova, blasting right through the ice shields you can hide behind. So Answer, I think it's Answer is the correct pronunciation, is a dragon in Act 3 that relates to Will's quest. If you guys haven't done that, it's a pretty fun quest called The Legend of Answer. Make sure to do it if you can. Viconia is no longer too stubborn to die. She will now go down at 0 HP or when knocked out. So Viconia is a returning character from the original Baldur's Gate games, a worshipper of Shar, and you can meet her in the House of Grief in the city of Baldur's Gate, which is Shadowheart's quest. You can probably go there without Shadowheart too, but it is Shadowheart's quest. And for flow and scripting, fixed Gale, not reacting to you having the Annals of Karsus. So the Annals of Karsus is a book that you get from the bottom of Sorcerer's Sundries if you figure out how to navigate down there. Fixed Gale's dialogue, force closing when offering him the Annals of Karsus. If Orin's abductee gets killed on the altar before they're rescued in gameplay, they will now remain dead. Ooh. Carrie will no longer get stuck in the atelier if the dialogue didn't trigger after the portrait was destroyed. I think Carrie has something to do with Oscar's quest, and Oscar is the artist that you can meet in the Zentrum hideout in Walking's Rest, in the Walking's Rest area. I didn't actually do that, so I'm not entirely sure. Prisoners rescued from Moonrise Towers that take the boat with you will no longer attempt to arrest you for trespassing upon arriving at the last light. An important fix right there. Fix the bug causing Astarion to be permanently knocked out by the vampire spawn during a camp night and disappearing after a long rest. Fix the bug where Ravengard would disappear from the camp after Mazora resurrected him. Dark Urge players turning into the Slayer. Major spoiler, I didn't even know you could turn into the spoiler as a Dark Urge. Holy crap, that's crazy, that's awesome. I'm actually reading that for the first time. During dialogue, we'll now have the appropriate level of the Slayer form during the duel with Orin. Oh, I can't wait to do a Dark Urge run now. That's pretty awesome. All right, for level design and map, fix the bug preventing you from walking on certain items like the fireplace in the tea house. Cinematics, when taking the final Netherstone from Orin, dead Gortash is no longer floating in the air. And that is it. So yeah, pretty big patch notes. Not as big as the previous one, but it seems like there was some important fixes in there. And I think this is probably just the start of the improvement to some of the epilogues that a lot of people have been expressing are underwhelming. I'm trying to find my scene. Where's my scene? Nope, that's the wrong scene. Damn it. There's the right scene. Okay, so thank you all so much for watching. I don't really know how to go about these videos. It's kind of weird just like reading through patch notes, but it seems like a lot of people enjoy these videos, so I'm going to keep doing them. And I'll catch you all on the next one.